Thank you guys for joining. Um, we got to talk about it. There was another shooting in Minnesota. Um, ICE agents shot uh, another person today. There was another victim. He was armed, which to some people may or may not sway their opinion on whether or not it was a justified shooting or not. Um, Personally, I feel like this is getting out of control. I understand what the vision was at first when it came to ICE in terms of rounding up anybody who was here in this country illegally, criminals, things like that. But when you have ordinary, regular citizens, whether they're here legally or they actually are a US citizen and they're just being stopped at random, it's kind of like, okay, you're not really, you're losing the point now. You're losing the plot. Um, I understood at first what the administration was trying to do. I understand that the problem was huge and massive in this country as far as illegal immigration. Um, I understand the due diligence that was done in the beginning of like, hey, this is our goal. This is what we're going to set out to do. This is how we're going to attack this problem. We're going to go through it morally, ethically, and all that stuff, right? And they all said the right things. And that's, generally how it starts. But now it just seems like we've reached a tipping point where you now have, you know, different factions of this country who just look at it and go, yeah, they don't understand what they're doing anymore. You know, I apologize in the background, guys. I didn't realize the fire trucks be going off right now. Okay, I apologize for that. Um, so yeah, I just feel like now we've reached a point where, when it comes to ICE, it's almost like you do have to wonder about your safety. You have to worry about it, mm, you know, and it's a shame because you know if you had said last year, like, hey, you have an option between you have illegal immigration versus ICE patrolling the streets, what would you pick? I mean, most people would pick a little illegal immigration because they think, oh, well, you know, whatever, it's not affecting me. And some people might be right and some people might be wrong. And it depends on how you live. And some people look at it and go, you know what? No, I don't want illegal immigration in this country, you know? But you look at ICE, you look at what they're doing. And again, not every story is true. I don't want people to be out there thinking every headline about ICE is true, whether or not something happened, didn't happen. Like, you got to do your research. But at the end of the day, the fact that there was another shooting, like, that just, it leaves a bad taste in people's mouths, whether or not it was justified or not, and coming off of the Renee Good shooting, it's like, come on now, like, how many more of these do we have to do before it just gets much, much worse? And trust me, it's like, it's insane. It really is insane, and it's a shame. And as I said in the beginning, I understood in the beginning when this whole rollout happened with ICE. I understood what the purpose was in terms of the goal, right? Rounding up illegal immigration, rounding up criminals, anybody, like, all that. But when you have random citizens or random people just being rounded up and confronted, and it's like, oh, let's just see what happens, almost like rolling the dice. It's like, you can't really do that, Not in my mind. I don't think that's ethical because yes, we don't know exactly person for person, who's here illegally or not, versus who's a natural born citizen. But at the end of the day, like, if they're going into cities and states where they know, okay, this person, they're here illegally, we have to find them. Like, if that's all they were doing, where it was like, hey, we have a list of people and we're going after them and maybe anybody that harbors them, and then we're getting out. If ICE was getting out of states after they did all this, I don't think there'd be as much uproar. I think it would just be like, holy shit, they came through quickly. But the fact that it's like, I mean, they got an army now, basically, at this point. I hate to say it like that, but like, it's gotten to the point now where you're just waiting for the next headline. And it shouldn't be like that. It really shouldn't be like that because like, I don't know. It just doesn't seem like that anybody's in charge of this anymore. It just seems like everything's just, and again, perception is everything. So, you know, we all could be wrong in terms of what we're looking at, but at the end of the day, a lot of this is being filmed live, and it doesn't look good. It don't look good at all. And you know, I I was trying to understand it in the beginning. I was like, okay, this is gonna be risky. What are the risks? What are the options they got? And we've now reached a point where it's like this has almost become unattainable, you know. And obviously, the administration is doubling down on ICE because they're the ones that promoted this and authorized it. So they have to stand by it all. But at the end of the day, they can't be happy about all of these ICE related shootings and incidents, you know? It's like there's no way. Like, and listen, I'm not gonna be one of those people that goes, "Oh, this is all Trump's fault." I'm not doing that because this is bigger than him. This is an ethical problem with this country. But the fact that, like, I just feel like with when it comes to Trump, with this is definitely gonna be a legacy marker for him. His deployment of ICE in this country. Um, Whether his intentions were good or not doesn't really matter at this point because it's gotten so bad that, like, every protest, you're just waiting for the next headline. Oh, another shooting. Oh, another, you know, whatever. Like, you're just waiting for it. And it shouldn't be like that, you know? I mean, it's just sad. It's honestly really, really sad. And to anyone out there who thinks, like, this is okay, it's not, you know? I mean, there's an ethical way to go about this. There's a way to do it where people don't live in fear, and uh, that's the biggest conductor of violence is fear. When people fear for their lives, mayhem happens. And right now, everybody in this country is afraid. They're afraid to walk across the street. They're afraid to go to the store. They're afraid to go to work. Like, shoot, they're afraid to start their car. Like, come on, it shouldn't be like that. You know. And some would say, well, you got to attack it aggressively because we have such a big problem with illegal immigration. Fair. That's fair. And obviously there's agitators out there. Honestly, I feel like protesting, whether it's peaceful or not, just adds flames to the fire because or fans the flames because you've now reached a point, it's a boiling point where now whether you protest or not, it's almost like a black hole. It's just everything's getting sucked in. And now we're at a threshold where we can't sustain this any longer. I don't believe we can. I really don't. I truly believe that by the summer, I don't think, I pray that we won't have any more of these incidents in the summer. Because I can tell you right now, if you think it's bad now, when it's nice outside and people can actually stay outside for longer periods of time and not get frostbite, trust me, it'll get worse. Mark my words, If it gets any worse out here, we don't need that. We don't. And if I was the president, I would come out and I would try to calm the waters. I would try to say something to ease people's minds and go, like, just say something because, like, I feel like he's kind of just letting it happen and going, well, they'll figure it out. I have smart people in charge. But at the end of the day, respectfully, like, you appointed them. So, it's like if you're the CEO of a company and, you know, everyone below you is doing bad, well, whose fault is that? Ultimately, that's yours because you're the one that hired them in the first place. So, Trump is the one that put these people in place, in charge, and right now we're seeing the horrors of what ultimately looks like just unrest. It's civil unrest. I hate saying it like that, and I'm not stoking the flames of anything like that. I'm not out here saying we got to do this. I'm just pointing out what we're seeing play out in front of us. And whether you feel it's justified or not, you can't deny like what's in front of you is very, very scary. And I mean, it's just insane. Like there just has to be different guidelines now. It can't just be anybody we think is suspicious. It has to be documented, real evidence, pictures, names, everything. It can't just be, oh, that person right there looks, illegal. Let's grab them. It can't be that, you know. And plus, don't they have tasers? Like, don't ICE officers have tasers? You know, like I feel like that should be more of a thing. If like, you know, I understand if somebody's coming at you with a weapon, that's different. But if they're just resisting arrest, just tase them. If you have to arrest them or whatever, like tase them. Don't shoot them. Like I think that's the part where it's like it just plays into the hands of people who are like, get these guys out of here. This is unlawful. Like we got to start recognizing that law enforcement, they do have a tough job, but at the end of the day, the choices they make, they define not only themselves but how we view them. And you know, I'm not saying every ICE agent is bad. I'm not saying every cop is bad, but I'm also not saying that every law enforcement agency person out there does their job ethically. There's lines that you cross, there's lines you don't cross, but at the end of the day, you know what those lines are. You know what that other side is like. Um and I feel like people I feel like if like more people understood that part of it, it may not be as bad. But because we don't live in that world, or at least not yet, where it's like, oh, we know what this looks like, we know what this feels like, then it's like, oh, we don't look at it that way. But I don't know. I don't know, guys. It just doesn't feel right. It really doesn't. And I hope, like I said, I hope that something could be done about this. I'm not saying abolish ICE and get rid of it forever because they do serve a purpose in terms of what they're trying to do. But this whole thing about rounding up random people and or even if they are documented as far as illegal, but still, like it's just there's a way to do it, and I just feel like the messaging is off. I feel like the yeah the messaging is off. The ethical way of doing it is off. I feel like more people are now just saying, look, if you see ICE or if you see any sort of law enforcement, just protest against them because you don't like them. I'll be honest, that doesn't solve anything either. And telling the story half-ass or telling one side of the story doesn't help either anything either. And I blame the Democrats for that too. Like there's been storylines about ICE that they've thrown out that just weren't true, and they've caused more friction and more disdain in turn. Instead of just saying, hey, listen, if you disagree, we could talk about it responsibly. But to say things that are lies or you know blow up a certain narrative and make it fit yours, it doesn't help either. Like on both sides, this just not, both sides are doing this not good, I feel like. And I just think that if there was just more clarity, if there was more of a message behind it where it's like, hey, listen, this is our ultimate goal, this is what we're trying to do, blah blah blah, I think that would go a long way. But ultimately, I mean, we'll just have to wait and see. Yeah, we'll just have to wait and see, guys. But anyway, I appreciate you guys for listening. If you listen in the future, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you like this video. Go follow my next. Go follow my second page, um, Deciphering Politics. I put the link in the description. Hopefully, you guys see it. If not, I'll make a separate post about it. But make sure you follow it. Good information on there about Trump and what I view of him and everything like that. But yeah, guys, leave your comments below what you guys think about what I said, what you think about ICE in general, what you would do if you were director or if you were president, if you were in charge of ICE, like how would you handle this? Because I feel like we're gonna reach a tipping point where we're gonna start looking for answers and there won't be any. So we need to figure this out now. But in the meantime, everybody take care and stay tuned for the next video.